You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, my co-host, Nick Kosko. Welcome back, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me. Been on a little sabbatical, but it's been well needed. Let's call it that, but not a stranger. We're in it all day, every day, and I love the fact that you guys finished the year with an amazing series about kicking butt and taking name this year, and so we're gonna maybe put a bow on that. How about that?
Absolutely, because I think, Nick, bringing this all together for the audience, and hopefully some of you out there have listened to all 6 episodes, and you've written down the things that we challenged you to write down, and ready to have 2026 be the best year ever. And so let's just maybe answer some of the questions that people in the audience may have, and kind of get this rolling.
Well, I love the fact that you started the whole thing off with vision, right? Like straight out of scripture, right? Without vision, man will perish, right?
Absolutely.
And I love that you talked about drift in that episode. We've got a little thing that happens in the airplane. When I used to fly airplanes, we call it the magenta line. And the magenta line, you'd program the autopilot to go from, say, Louisville to come down to see you in Fort Myers. And the airplane wants to stay on that magenta line, and it's constantly making little corrections. And, we got to stay within a couple miles of that airway, or the airplane goes, hey, I can't do this. You got to take over.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly monitoring that drift. And so, like, Jim, what are the things you put in place for this year? And you and I've had a lot of conversations about this just in the first, less than 2 weeks of the year. Like, what are you doing this year to keep you on course? What are you doing this year to minimize your drift?
For me, it's morning check-ins and evening check-ins. And honestly, I really probably need to add a midday check-in, but right now what I've implemented is morning check-ins and evening check-ins. And what I mean by that is I was just talking to another team member last night about this, and she was talking about in the morning, she thinks about the 3 things she's grateful for, that she's looking forward to and grateful for that day. And I said, it's really important to do that at night too. So it's the last thing on your mind before you go to bed. It's kind of like if you pray right before you go to bed and then you pray first thing in the morning, then that kind of helps set you up. So to me, that's what I'm doing to keep my autopilot. Where am I going? And, I'll tell you, this is underrated to have, it doesn't have to be a bullet journal. It could be a pad of paper. It could be whatever you want. I think that the company that makes a bullet journal, these little hardbound journals, is brilliant because it's the right size. It's not like it's hard to carry around. And I write down, I have my monthly to-do list for January, and there's something satisfying about checking it off. And it's, to stay with the aviation so I can butcher that analogy, but it's like, the checklist before you take off.
Yeah.
When you check those things off, it feels good. You know what I mean? And if you do all the right things from takeoff or pre-takeoff to post-landing, then guess what? Everything's happy, everything's on time, everything's done. When you can't find something, like you can't find your vision, or you start to let negative thoughts get in your head and things like that, that's when all of a sudden you're flying and you're like in a fog, and I can't imagine what that feels like. The first thing I think about is JFK Jr. and, a sad story, but, he thought he was right side up and he was upside down, is what I remember the report saying. Now, to me, that seems unfathomable that you could be in an airplane and be upside down and not realize it. But you know what? It happens in your life too. You're upside down, you don't realize it. So when you get into that fog, it's really important to go back to that identity. Who is Jim Oliver, and who is Jim Oliver going to be at the end of this year? And I've written it all down. Here's what I did in 2026. And this is what I look like health-wise, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, monetarily, everything, right?
Yeah, it's so think of those are about systems and processes, right? Like the checklist is systems and processes. It sounds morbid, but all those items on the checklist are written in blood, right? Like,
Yeah.
so we're not doing a life and death thing in business and life per se, okay? Like we think about it in the cockpit, but when things do go wrong, we need systems and processes for that too. For you and I, and hopefully this resonates with other people, is it's phone a friend and tell someone there's a problem.
Yeah.
I may not have the solution, but hey, Jim, I don't know how to handle this.
Right.
Hey, we've got this problem in this business. Whatever that is, that way we can be proactive and not reactive, because when we don't have systems and processes, we live in a state of reactivity. Well, that just means we're in a state of survival. And so you're in that fight or flight mode all the time. It's really hard to be in front of the airplane if you're always reacting. So we talk about when we're flying, is we want to be 100 miles ahead of the airplane, thinking about what's happening February 1, what's happening March 1. That doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. But it's our intentionality, and the system is moving that way, because when we have systems and processes, we create buffer around us. We create capacity for us to handle the curveballs. It stabilizes our emotions. It helps with our emotional regulation when we're not in a state of reactivity all the time. And then we can focus on what is our unique ability, which we've talked about a ton. So, and I love this mindset that you got into in the second one, which was this owner versus consumer, which, whether people realize it or not, like you wrote a book last year, which is about ready to come out for everybody to get their hands on, Ownership.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about about that book from this perspective.
Yeah, I think this is so important. And this is, where this conversation really was birthed about ownership versus being the customer or consumer, was from page 45 of Nelson's book, in a discussion years ago with Justin Kraft. Justin had this unique perspective on that page, which totally made sense. We've adopted that vernacular as well. And for people that don't know Justin, he's one of our closest allies in IBC, and one of our best friends and part of our devotional group. But he runs Nowlin Wealth Management with all those guys. He's got a great team down there. And he said, Nelson explained it to me this way. And, I love when somebody brings me something that Nelson said that he didn't say to me directly, but, I could see him saying this. And it was that the IBC sister really is the owner of the business. That's why she doesn't have as much cash in the beginning. Owners have to make an investment in the business. And then the consumer, the customer, they get the immediate satisfaction. Well, in your life, if you run, most people run their lives like the consumer, like the customer. I mean, even some of these people on TV today, they want the government to take care of them. And I understand when you're in your early 20s and you're like, man, if somebody would this company would take care of me, and this government would take care of me, and my parents have a ton of money and they would take care of me. I mean, I didn't have any of those things, but I understand the desire. I mean, I was watching this show on Netflix last night, and the lady that her family's super, super, super wealthy, right? Yeah. She's a billionaire just being part of the family. Wow. Well, yeah, if you don't have that, okay, then you got to step up and you got to be the owner of your life, because the government's not going to take care of you, and some company isn't going to take care of you. Or if they do, then they're in control. And if somebody else is in control of your life, you're really to some degree a slave, right? Or you're at least captive. You're in captivity. Okay. So if you don't like that slave word, I get it. It's a harsh word, but captivity. And so as a customer, you're always living your life in captivity. As an owner, you truly are free. And back in the olden days, you're that farmer, man. You're tilling the soil. And if it grows, you reap the benefits. And if you don't till the soil and you don't weed it and you don't have those systems in place, And so it's really like, let's start acting like owners in our lives. And we give you 5 shifts in ownership shift. And that's the reason that the name that we all came up with was so important. Is it is a shift. It is a mind shift. It is a shift in your paradigm. It is not what you've been told. It is not what you've been taught. Those things are lies. It's to control you. Government has to control the population. But not everyone. Thank God, right?
Yeah. It's there's that word bondage is the one that comes to me so often. It's like, oh, I don't want to live in bondage. Like when I was turning a wheel for someone else, exchanging time for money, no wonder I felt so much discontent, right? Like you and I got different problems now, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
we've got problems in the businesses that we own, and we have solutions, and we have an abundance of opportunity in them, and an abundance of wins, and all those things that we wouldn't experience if we were showing up doing a job that someone else told us we had to do and when we had to do it. So it's just a mindset shift, and it doesn't have to be overnight. Like Jim and I are the types that, once we know what's going on, like we tend to just take action. Okay. But our pace of play doesn't have to be your pace of play. I actually say I'm a super slow learner. I either get it right away, or it takes me a ridiculously long amount of time to get it. And I've learned to find a lot of grace with that and have grace for others in their journeys. And this is why we say to people, we'll meet with you 10 times, 20 times, as long as you're doing your part to further your shift. We'll continue to facilitate your experience in learning what's that look like to take ownership of the banking function in your life. So, well, that segues right into episode 3, which is you're talking about money. And, it's the antithesis of what the financial world says is, hey, build this big stock of money, work till the day you quote unquote retire. And then let's hope you don't run out of money before you die, which is not how they say it, because no one would buy it if they said it like that. So they put a bunch of fancy words on it, and your green line and a whale jumping out of the water, like all those things are supposed to endear us to their way of doing things. But I love some of the things you said here is wealth isn't so much about what you have, it's what are you doing with it. So you've got a plethora of experiences in this and doing things in your life, and the challenges and the rewards that's faced. Like what's a highlight for you that you've experienced on that front?
On wealth and building wealth and being able to give back.
Yeah.
Giving money away, something that we always did when I was younger and my kids were younger is we would go to the grocery store or go to Walmart or whatever and pay for people around Christmas time. Just like look for the biggest basket you could find. The person that you kind of can sense it, man. You can kind of sense the person that's like looking at their basket, looking at their wallet, and they're like, maybe this isn't going to add up, right? And you just walk up and just, say something to them like, hey, would you mind if I took care of this? And, watching a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old do that is really super rewarding, but also, teaching people to have this freedom coming from and having some degree of wealth and and again, it's kind of like your kids, I want somebody in the audience to like anything that I ever dreamed of, you know what I mean? And I think somebody will, because, I learned about wealth, true wealth from Nelson. And I remember when Nelson, it was like probably a couple years before he passed and graduated from this world, but he sent out this financial kind of a picture of his finances to let us know. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was like to let us know, hey, I'm fine, right? Because he never monetized this, Nick. He could have made millions and millions and millions of dollars, but he really gave away the knowledge and gave away the gift of infinite banking. I looked at it, and my first reaction from like a worldly view was, gosh, I thought he'd have a lot more, right? But he was one of the wealthiest men I've ever met in my life. And I know billionaires, okay, 7 billion, or maybe, I don't know what he's worth now, probably 10 or 12. But, I know people that are worth, I don't know how many figures that is. I went to public school, but, that's a lot. right? 7 billion, 12 billion. I mean, at that point, doesn't matter. But, still, I would say Nelson was a wealthier person because he was healthy up until he wasn't, and he was influential until he wasn't. He gave back until he couldn't, right? Like all the way to the end. And the night before his surgery, that he passed during the surgery, he was giving an Austrian economics lesson to the nurse. Now, that's a man that knew what wealth meant and knew it was more than money. And, money doesn't, we don't love money, right? We love what money does, and we love to have impact on people. So having impact on people, and that God's plan somehow is to take this kid that had nothing and help people learn how to have abundance, is bigger than I could have ever imagined and planned on my own.
Yeah, I love that. But anyone would be asleep at the switch to not notice that you're about 70-ish pounds lighter now. All right. And so I've watched, for those of you who don't know, Jim and I have been good friends for over a decade now. And I've seen like an absolute transformation from you. It's like you haven't aged. Honestly, that's no joke at 60 years old for someone to be able to say that. So, you did an episode on health. Right. And you've been excited about it. You talk about it a lot in the shows. It's a common thread, particularly the last 12 months. Just speak for a second about what are you doing to do that, simply stated?
So simply stated, I identified as the person I wanted to be. And then I changed my environment. And what I mean by that, it really was that simple. And I used little tools to trick myself because, again, I'm not that smart. So like I made an AI picture of myself with my shirt off and shorts of what I wanted to look like. And I took it to a trainer and I said, "Is this possible?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, you're hired." And then I changed my identity. Okay. And I realized that I could be 200 pounds more muscular. I could be 60 years old and have abs. And I just said, that's what I'm going to do. Right. And I identify that. And I started acting like I already was that person. And guess what? I started to transform to that person. But I had to change my environment. So if you go in my pantry, I don't have chips. By the way, do I eat chips? I do eat chips, but when I'm done with whatever I'm going to eat, I throw them away. And
I've witnessed this. I've witnessed that before.
Yeah. I mean, and I used to go, well, I had chips on Sunday watching the football game. Then I had them on Monday because there's another football game. And, Tuesday is, some shows on. And all of a sudden I'm a couch potato eating chips and, thinking, man, why am I want to take a nap at 2:00 in the afternoon? And so when I identified as I'm going to be in great health, I'm that healthy person, change my environment, change my identity, and then I put in systems. Willpower doesn't work. So what I did is I said, well, if I pay somebody, I'm frugal. So if I pay somebody, I'm going to show up. Right. So I hire a trainer 4 days a week. And I get up at 4:30, 5:00, and I'm at the gym. Right. And then by the time I get home and I've done my devotional, I've done my workout, I've done these things, that's who I identified as. Yeah. So identity and then environment. And it was the easiest thing in the world, honestly, because then it built momentum. It's kind of like an airplane. It's, like it's hard to take off, but once you're up in the air, right, there's less resistance. You don't have the ground, you don't have gravity. You have all these other things,
inertia,
lift and whatever. I'm going to sound dumb, but like
you got inertia, like it's
inertia.
Right? Like it's easy to climb 1,000 feet when you're already going 500 an hour.
I got on the scale the other day and I hadn't been on the scale for a while and I was 202 pounds and my trainer's like, you're more muscular. So, I thought, well, I'll go do a DexaFit, back to the, the identity, the thing. And DexaFit tells you your biological age. So last time I did it, it was like in the high 40s. And I'm like, what if I could get into the 30s? You know what I mean? And now, sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, right? But I knew my doctor has a guy that's in his 80s and his is in the 40s. So I'm thinking if he can do it, I can do it. right? That's another thing. That's an environment. That's the environment I'm hanging out in, where I'm going to the same doctor as a dude who's in his 80s, who is biologically in his 40s, younger than his son, by the way. And so all of these things start to stack up. What's in your pantry, what's in your fridge. And at the end of the day, and you go, oh gosh, I kind of have the munchies. And you go, you know what? Maybe I should just go to bed. Or maybe I drink that glass of water that everybody talks about. Or maybe I find, I'm going to have a pickle, or something. I'm not going to, and you just make different choices because your environment is different. And if you're hanging out at McDonald's, then you're going to look like the people that are hanging out at McDonald's. If you hang out at the gym, eventually you're going to look like the people hanging out at the gym if you do what they're doing.
So how does this all align with what God's calling you to do with your faith?
It's the same thing. It's like every morning getting up and reading our devotional and saying, I've got 12, 13, 15, whatever number of guys. And it's like, it's easy to mail it in at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It's easy to say, yeah, copy that scripture. Yeah, boom, I love this. And I do that some days. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do it some days. But the days that I really give it thought, write something out, have ChatGPT help me make it make sense sometimes. And then, because I think, well, those are random thoughts. Is anybody going to understand what I just said? Because I write the way that I think, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And then it doesn't change it. It just makes it grammatically correct, right? And then when you do that and you pray, it changes your day and your trajectory. And again, it's your systems. So if I have a system that every morning I'm going to do my devotional and I'm going to pray. Now, could it be better? It could always be better, right? And in the environment, when I have somebody again like Nick Kosko or Joe Pantozzi or Justin Kraft or one of the other guys saying, Josh Lyle, like giving me perspective of what they just read, and I go, gosh, man, you guys wrote half a book there, but it's really good. I think about Josh. Josh always has a different perspective than me, and I always respect his perspective, right? He thinks differently than me. I love it. It's like, so then again, for that, my environment is these men, right? That are Christian men that are trying to get better, trying to be better fathers, better husbands, better people, better businessmen, better sons of God, right? And that's my environment. If I said, you know what, I'm just not going to do that today, right? Then now what's my environment?
Yeah.
Well, when you're alone, who's your environment? If you're not praying, then the world can get you. I can turn on the TV. It can, like the enemy starts to put noise in my head. It's really hard to get noise in your head when you're doing the right thing and you're doing the systems, right? It's really hard to worry about the plane going down. Like when you're going across, everything's green or whatever the thing is, everything looks good, right? You don't sit there and go, man, what if this airplane just falls out of the sky? Right? But when you don't have the information right in front of you and you can't see, like in fog, that's when you're like, okay, like let me take control of the joystick or whatever, right? And that's where you get in trouble, because like our computer and autopilot and what we're supposed to listen to and our warning systems and everything is God and the Bible and the things in your devotional and the people in your environment, the people in your inner circle, like the devotional.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about and a lot of this is people, places, and things. And if you want something different, you just may have to change the people you hang out with, the places that you go, and the things you interact with or have in the kitchen. And, like 2025 was huge for me in the health and faith world. Like I can't make any sense of it, but in some prayer, like God asked me to eliminate alcohol from my life. And so I did. I just was like, well, what's this going to do for me? Well, I've come to learn that there's not a scenario where my life is better with having some bourbons or a tequila or having beers on the golf course. Like I want to, at 49 years old, I want to look better than Jim when I'm 60. And so for me, that's what I had to do, which when I removed that interference, for me, I've had a huge huge progress in my faith walk, right? Like God's doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. And what I've really had to do is just slow down, like stop and listen. Like we have a propensity to go 4 million miles an hour and want to boil the ocean by 10 a.m. and then be pissed off when it's not percolating by about 9:30. Well, that's not a way to live. That's not what God has asked us to do. Like we're called to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And I think that so often, people that call themselves high performers, we can be in our way a tornado, right? And I know that that's how it was for me. And so like I learned these 3 principles. It's just really cool. Like every morning, just trust God, clean house, serve others.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can just do those and like set your intentionality, like as soon as you start thinking about like, belaboring these problems that we may have, these curveballs being thrown at us, just stop. Like, who can I serve right now? Like,
Yeah.
texting somebody, how can I pray for you? Picking up the phone and going, hey Jim, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like when you can do that and you can turn your brain right around, it's pretty amazing what happens. And so, doing some stuff health wise right now to go to the next level. Like I just decided for 21 days I wasn't going to have any sugar or any breads.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a detox right now, like just working on those things. Cause at 49 years old, I started, my pants were getting a little tighter than I cared for, had my shoulder rebuilt, so like gotta go to another level, which means I got to do different things. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So joining a gym, paying somebody to build me I don't know if I told you this, but I'm having somebody build me a functional program so
Nice.
I can do that. I don't need somebody babysitting me every day doing it, but I just need the structure. I need the system so that I'll do it. And then I'm going to tell you about it when I have it. I'm going to tell Mayor about it when I have it. So someone can say, hey, knucklehead, you doing that?
Right. You have
Right?
accountability.
Like, yeah. Have the drift checkers. Right. So
Yep.
we bring those around. And so like, do we want to repeat last year? No, I don't want to do that again. I want to build on that.
Yeah.
So
the only way to, and I love what you said, Nick, because obviously I've witnessed this for the last, 9 months? Is it
Yep.
about 9 months?
Yep.
Huh? 10?
No, 9.
9. And it's interesting because, we've had a lot of discussions about this, right? And
Yeah.
about drinking, not drinking. And, you've done 75 hard in the past. And, so, you could do that. You have willpower. But the difference from those things and what you did last year, saying, I'm done drinking, I'm not going to ever drink again, is you changed your identity, right? Your identity is a non-drinker, right? And then you found systems to enforce that. You found environment to enforce that, right? You didn't go, well, I'll go hang out at the bar with my friends and talk about 2026, right? You changed all of those things. So whatever you want in your life, whatever you need in your life, those are the steps. The first step is identity. If you don't think that, like I always think it's interesting when somebody says, I'm going to stop drinking. I mean, and regardless of why they're going to stop drinking, right? Or I have a friend here, his doctor told him, you need to stop drinking. But he doesn't identify as a non-drinker. So guess what he's struggling with?
Yeah.
He's struggling with cutting down. And I saw him last week and he's like, man, I'm drinking way too much. And I was like, I thought you were supposed to stop drinking completely. Again, I'm not his doctor, right? I'm his friend, but again, that identity, that vision, you had a vision of what you wanted and you had a why of why you wanted it, right?
Yep.
And then you took action. Vision without action means nothing, right? It's just a dream. So you took action, you changed your identity, you changed your environment, and all of a sudden you're changing your results. And I have no doubt that you'll never drink again. I mean, because I've seen the change in the identity. That's not Nick anymore, right? This is Nick now. And that's cool. So anybody out there, that's a huge thing to change. So tell me one thing in your life that you can't change in 2026.
You're going to set out with an idea. That's what I would encourage you. Write down what you want and what that looks like, and don't necessarily be married to it. Just be curious about it and set out for it. Because here's what's going to happen. The results are going to be different and they're going to be better, right? Like, if we can just walk faithfully along the process and give ourselves grace and have these systems in place for daily accountability, some way, somehow, it looks different for everyone. What I have come to learn and believe, and it took a minute, is that the results are better, and they become so much better that you can't fathom going back. You just want to build on them, and you will break those systems for better ones, right? And it starts for us, it starts vertically. I love the fact that you start your day and you end the day like that, because that is telling me that you are being still, even when that's completely against your nature, right? So that's growth. And that's what we want to keep doing. We want to keep building on things and trust that God will continue to do things for us that we cannot do for ourselves.
So let's bring this back to some scripture. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you. Right? This is God, right? Declares the Lord.
Yeah.
Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So God already sees the outcome. Our plans are provisional. His are complete. So like you said, it's not going to look like you draw it up, but it will be better. But then also when you think about it, like in human perspective versus God's vision, Isaiah 55:8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Right? Anytime it says declares the Lord, I listen. Right? It says, it says, as the heavens are higher than the earth. Okay, it's like your father saying, "Look, Father knows best." Okay, as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than yours. My thoughts are higher. So when I think about like a book, The Magic of Thinking Big, right? God thinks bigger than we do. Right? God thinks better than we do. But also, let's kind of like, I'll wrap that up with Proverbs 16:9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps.
That's right.
And so, identity, environment, systems, reinforcement, accountability to God, accountability to your family, accountability to your partner, your spouse, your accountability to your business partner, accountability to your trainer, accountability, to stay the course and stay on course as you get off course, because we know what we all do, right? We're human. You have to go back to not those scriptures, find your, like the ones that make the most sense for you. Yeah. But and write those in this book and look at those every single day.
That's right.
And failure is not an option.
Yeah. It's all worked out. We just don't see it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thanks for putting the series together. I know you worked hard on it. Hopefully our audience gets some mileage out of it, picks up, a couple of things out of it that helps propel them to a year that isn't a repeat. It's better than any of the years prior.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and the back to the having the heart of, wealthy abundance is anybody out there in the audience that is struggling with any part of this process. If you listen, you have any questions, email them to us. We'll answer them. Call us. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, because I really want to be at the end of 2026, Nick, and have a handful, a dozen, 10 dozen people reach out to us and say, I had the best year I've ever had. And I identify as a different person. I've learned my plans, my goals, they're just drafts, right? God's plans are complete. They're already complete. So my drafts, cool. My responsibility is obedience, stewardship, daily ownership of my life. When I do my part and stay aligned, the outcome is bigger than anything that I could have designed on my own. And I guess that's like the most important thing to me, is just having that faith that I'm single. I could draw up what the perfect woman for me looks like, but I'm like, God, whoever it is, put her in my life. Right. So
yeah, man. Hey, thanks for sharing all this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Nick, as always. And audience, we're going to do a lot more joint episodes this year. We are changing the format, just like we want you to grow. We're growing. We're going to do a lot more having people on, asking questions. Nick and I just talking about a certain subject and whatever it is. And we are going to hopefully give you so much content this year on this podcast. And so look forward to that, Nick. And, Nick, we're going to wrap this up like we always do. How do we wrap it up?
Earl, take it away.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.